Welcome to 1189, an online Bible commentary. My name is Tyler Marston, and today we're taking a look at Numbers chapter 34. The people have come a long way since slavery, and Moses is making his final preparations before the people enter Canaan, the promised land. And God begins this process by laying out the boundaries of the land the people need to take. Then he appoints leaders from each tribe to work together in breaking it up among themselves. Now, notably, this is before they've even crossed the Jordan River. We realize that this generation is very different from the previous one, and there's a strong sense that through them, God will fulfill all those promises he made to Abraham. It's celebratory, it's exciting, but there's still a long way to go. The people have to wait on and trust in God every step of the way if they want to be successful. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Command the sons of Israel and say to them, when you enter the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, even the land of Canaan according to its borders. Your southern sector shall extend from the wilderness of Zin along the side of Edom, and your southern border shall extend from the end of the Salt Sea eastward. Then your border shall turn direction from the south to the ascent of Akrabim and continue to Zin, and its termination shall be to the south of Kadesh Barnea, and it shall reach Hazaradar and continue to Osman. The border shall turn direction from Osman to the brook of Egypt, and its termination shall be at the sea." God first instructs the people, giving them where the exact boundary lines of Canaan should be. This is his way of saying, hey, don't try to take any land that I haven't given you, or else it won't end well. He first describes the southern border, going down past the Dead Sea alongside Edom, and then extending into Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's where the Israelites were camping when they sent out the 12 spies to scout out the land. It really makes you understand just how close the people were. And yet it still took the people 40 years to get there because of their lack of trust. And God says that border should extend all the way to the brook of Egypt. That is most likely what we now call today Wadi El Arish on the Sinai Peninsula. And this fulfills what God promised to Abraham in Genesis 15, that his descendants would fill the land from the Euphrates to Egypt. And don't forget about Genesis 12, how these southlands of Canaan were the first place where Abraham pitched his tent after God called him to survey the inheritance of his descendants. As for the western border, ye shall have the great sea, that is, its coastline. This shall be your west border. And this shall be your north border. You shall draw your borderline from the great sea to Mount Hor, and you shall draw a line from Mount Hor to Lebo Hamath, and the termination of the border shall be at Zedad. And the border shall proceed to Zephon, and its termination shall be at Hazar Enan. This shall be your north border. Of course, if you were to look at a map, it should be very obvious what the western border of Israel is, the Great Sea, or what we call today the Mediterranean Sea. Following the sea north, we hear about more mountains, cities, and geographical features that will make up that border of the Promised Land. And it's worth noting that the Mount Hor mentioned here is not the same one where Aaron died in Numbers 20. That one was in the Southlands, in the wilderness near Edom. The name Hor comes from a generic Hebrew word for mountain. So it's not unreasonable that many mountains would have been given this name. Now, the exact location of the northern border laid out here is debated among scholars, but it's approximated to be a relatively straight line between Tyre in the west and Damascus in the east. For your eastern border, you shall also draw a line from Hazar Enan to Shepham, and the border shall go down from Shepham to Riblah on the east side of Ain. And the border shall go down and reach to the slope on the east side of the Sea of Kinnereth. And the border shall go down to the Jordan, and its termination shall be at the Salt Sea. This shall be your land according to its borders all around. Finally, the eastern border follows the Sea of Kinnereth, also known as the Sea of Galilee. And then it follows the Jordan River down to the Salt Sea, or the Dead Sea. And so just as the camp was laid out by the 4 cardinal directions in Numbers 2, God is laying out the borders of the Promised Land in a similar way. He's creating a place that these former slaves and their children can call home. Abraham's descendants are so close to finally returning and inheriting all of that land that God promised to their ancestors. So Moses commanded the sons of Israel, saying, "This is the land that you are to apportion by lot among you as a possession, which the Lord has commanded to give to the 9.5 tribes. For the tribe of the sons of Reuben have received theirs according to their fathers' households, and the tribe of the sons of Gad according to their fathers' households, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have received their possession. The 2.5 tribes have received their possession across the Jordan opposite Jericho, eastward toward the sun rising. Now, of course, these borders of Canaan proper will only be home to 9.5 tribes in light of Numbers 32. That was where Reuben, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh asked to settle their flocks and their families on the east side of the Jordan River in Gilead. Moses allowed this as long as their armies persisted in fighting alongside the rest of Israel to take the promised land for their brothers. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "These are the names of the men who shall apportion the land to you for inheritance: Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun. You shall take one leader of every tribe to apportion the land for inheritance." God then appoints Joshua and Eleazar to assemble one representative from each tribe, and together they'll create a council to apportion the boundaries of each tribe inside the land of Canaan. And then the last verses in this chapter give the names of the men who were selected. There's a couple of things to notice here. First, notice how God is giving the land of Canaan to all 12 tribes, but he's allowing them to come up with these specific boundaries per tribe. This was alluded to back in Numbers 26 and 33, and it shows God's intention to partner with humanity in running his creation. That was the original vision for his image bearers all the way back in Genesis 1. We should also note how they're assembling this committee to divide up the land before they've even entered it, before they've fought any of the battles. It's a far cry from the last generation who didn't trust God to give them the land at all. And then finally, notice how this list of leaders mirrors the list of generals from each tribe that was given in Numbers 1. This list is one of completely new people, yet unheard of course, except for one. And naturally, that's Caleb representing the tribe of Judah. After all, it's only him and Joshua that have actually surveyed the land. That's why they're both put on this committee. But everything about it speaks to God's sovereign judgments. Those who didn't believe in God perished, and he rose up a new generation to take their place. Meanwhile, he supernaturally sustained those who did believe in him, and in his proper timing, he's rewarding them for trusting him. It feels surreal almost to think about how close the Israelites actually are and how far they've come. But we also acknowledge that they still have a long way to go. They're dividing up the promised land before they've even crossed the Jordan, showing their absolute confidence in God to provide what he promised. And that's very unlike the generation of their fathers. Now the question for us is, which generation will ours be like? Will we be content with wandering in the wilderness, barely scraping by because we're so afraid of the future? Or will we take action by God's word and power to accomplish his will here on earth as it's always done in heaven? Thanks for watching 1189. I hope that you have a good day, and God bless.